This is a series of webinars about cooperatives, and we call this series the transformational power of cooperatives. This series really is to explore the power that cooperatives may have to influence the way we do develop economic strategies and even community strategies in Northern Ireland. So today, in fact, is the beginning of our seminar and then our series, and we are really started to put in the context what cooperatives can do to really try to promote and raise awareness of cooperatives. Sorry, I'm really distracted by people coming in, and I shouldn't. So, welcome in the agenda. So we will hear from, first of all, from Ellie Perrin on the research that she has conducted during the summer on cooperatives and the local economy. Then we will have a case study from Loveworks and another case study from Ballymaccash. And both case studies are going to be explained to you by Richard and Neil, that they are directly involved in those two cooperatives. Then we will have a question and answer session, and we will have also a little break before we go into really look at what type of support cooperatives needs during their development, and open up then the discussion again to see if we can come up with more and more solutions to have to increase the number of cooperatives in Northern Ireland. There are 5 webinars in the series. So this is the first one, as I said, is the introduction of cooperatives in the local economy. But then we're going to thematics webinars in which we are exploring some of the opportunities that maybe the climate emergency are giving us by analyzing what we can have as a cooperative saving and generating energy. We also would like to explore a bit more the concept of workers' cooperatives and employee-owned cooperatives to see if there are opportunities in Northern Ireland to approach employment from this point of view. In November, we have 2 other cooperatives. One is the caring cooperatives, two other webinars. One is the caring cooperatives and about social care, cooperatives in social care, and the final one is a community-led housing and housing cooperative at the end of November. To register, you have to use the same link that you have used today. Sponsor. These webinars have been sponsored, the first one by the Hive, that is a support program for cooperative across the UK, including Northern Ireland. And this program is funded by Cooperatives UK and the Cooperative Bank, and is delivered by us, Cooperative Alternatives. The second sponsor, or the second part of the webinars, are sponsored by the Belfast City Council. Thank you, Leah. She is present today, and is the Social Enterprise and Cooperative Support Program for a startup and existing cooperative in the area of Belfast. And we are delivering this program in partnership with the WorkWest and ourselves. So
Amazing. So this is, as Titiana mentioned, this is part of a series of webinars on transforming the transformative or transformational power of cooperatives. And here, I think today we're really looking at how cooperatives can be vehicle for transforming the local economy and local economic development thinking. So we've seen through the crisis that probably more than ever, we need a more sustainable and fairer economy. And in particular, I think we need to ask questions in terms of what kind of economic recovery do we want to see in the wake of COVID-19. Actually, from the onset of the pandemic back in March, we've seen that solidarity and mutual aid were key to alleviating the impact on the most vulnerable communities, not the market, no, mutual aid. So it kind of makes us think, how can we harness that to build a more sustainable economy? There's been more than ever a consensus towards building back better. And that's actually the name of a campaign that has emerged in different parts of the UK, including Northern Ireland. And this is in particular important because the implications for going back to business as usual are actually, well, they're important to consider. Environmentally, going back to business as usual means a temperature increase of 3 degrees Celsius. Now that's double what the aim is according to international climate agreements at the moment. But on top of that, if we were to see a return to austerity policies, it would mean placing the cost of the pandemic on workers and communities. So we're kind of wondering, is this a moment to build the foundation for a different type of local economic development? I'm just going to make a quick point because one of the roles that I had this summer was to look at policies. Obviously, these are Belfast-related policies, but you can see them across Northern Ireland as well. And we've seen even before COVID-19, a shift really in economic policy thinking towards putting a greater emphasis on environmental concerns as well as tackling socioeconomic inequalities. So that was reaffirmed in the Belfast Agenda. There was the Belfast Resilience Strategy, looking in particular at tackling carbon dependency, infrastructure, and looking at basically climate breakdown. And it was also reaffirmed in the Inclusive Growth Strategy. Now for us, inclusivity and resilience go hand in hand. So we know that one of the main determinants for tackling climate breakdown is economic status. So we're going to need a fair transition if we want a green transition. And that has led to a thinking that to decarbonize, to move away from fossil fuel industries and fossil fuel dependency, we need to democratize. So this is the argument we're making today, that cooperatives, they give ownership and democratic control over, over assets, over capital, over labor. They give communities a stake in the economic decisions that affect them. And by doing so, they play a role in tackling socioeconomic inequalities as well as environmental breakdown. Yes. Cooperatives in the room today, but I wanted to remind everybody of the cooperative principles, and there's a reason for that. So a cooperative is a jointly owned and democratically controlled business that members create to meet their common economic, social, and cultural needs and aspirations. Now, those principles are principles of the International Cooperative Alliance, which means that they're shared internationally. They're like a Bill of Rights of cooperatives. So a cooperative in India, a cooperative in Canada, a cooperative in Northern Ireland is going to share those principles. And those principles have a fundamental function that they imbue the economic activity of cooperatives with ethical concerns. Concerns over inclusivity, over independence, over profit redistribution, over concerns for the wider community. And that makes them actually well suited to tackling climate breakdown and socioeconomic inequalities at community level. So they are driven by solidarity and mutual aid, not by competition. And we can see cooperatives in all sectors of the economy. So there's a broad-based membership where those are workers, they can be consumers, service users. We see them in renewable energy, we see credit unions, housing cooperatives. Quite importantly, and I think that's not known enough, their economic performance has long been evidenced. There's been quite a lot of research done comparatively, but also in the UK, showing that cooperatives as businesses are better at doing business. So they are more profitable, they're more resilient, survival rates are at least twice that of a traditional firm. They also contribute to more employment, but on top of that, they have a social performance in terms of levels of happiness, of trust, and of cohesion, which I think is quite important for Northern Ireland. There's been little research done on cooperatives in Northern Ireland, and there's actually little known on cooperatives in Northern Ireland. So part of the research that I've done this summer was also trying to gather evidence on the cooperative sector. And we find that there are 214 cooperative societies in Northern Ireland. That's 145 credit unions, so the majority will be in the finance sector, with 766,000, over 766,000 members. So the majority of the members are credit union members, and the majority of the cooperatives are credit unions. But we also have a thriving agricultural sector, especially in terms of contribution to the turnover. In total, that's quite a lot of members, and that's also a contribution to the local economy, sorry, of nearly £1 billion annually. They also employ 3,000 workers. Now that data also has the co-op group, the shops, in terms of employees and workforce. That was actually their data that they kindly shared with us. This is quite statistical, but in terms of the research that I've been doing over the last 3 years with the University of Liverpool, we find that qualitatively, cooperatives tend to share a name towards community capacity building, inclusion of women in the economy, tackling social deprivation, fostering dignity at work, as well as interesting challenging sectarianism with producing really genuine cross-community experiences. There's a lot of potential to develop cooperatives and to unleash in particular their social and economic values. And the briefs that we've done this summer were looking at those areas, in particular green infrastructure projects in line with the policies that I've mentioned, the resilience strategy and the inclusive growth strategy. We can also see how cooperatives participate to local regeneration. Now I know that, I think Richard's just joined, but I know that Loveworks and Ballymaccash will talk about that. They're projects that regenerate their local areas, either as a worker cooperative or as a community co-op. And we also have a webinar coming up on housing cooperatives. We can also see the development of cooperatives in renewable energy, and Karen is in the room from the Northern Ireland Community Energy Cooperative. I think I said that right, yes. Which was created in 2015. So there's a lot of potential with that, but I'm just going to brush over that for the moment, because we have webinars that are coming up to talk potentially about the promoting worker buyouts. I think we are facing economic challenges ahead of us with business closures and with redundancies, and worker buyouts can be a solution. We also have issues with family businesses facing succession challenges, so they will have nobody to take over the business in a few years. And that could be an opportunity to develop worker buyouts. In Italy, where there is a legislation that supports worker buyouts, we've seen that this has saved 9,500 jobs since 1979. Richard, I don't know, I think we can hear you if you want to mute. Finally, one of the areas which we're not going to look at through our seminars, but which I think is really important, is cooperative farming and ethical consumptions. There is really a potential for harnessing the role of cooperative farms in Northern Ireland. They help farmers in particular rebuild their rural communities, gaining control over the supply chain, which I think is really important. We've seen during the pandemic how vulnerable we were with the global supply chain, especially in foods that are so important to our survival. Products that are important to our survival, such as food. And I think, cooperative farming can really play a role in that. We can also see that agriculture in Northern Ireland is the biggest polluter at the moment. So there is something to be done to create organic products, but also to try and get rid of carbon industries. That further down the supply chain, I think we can see elements of regaining control through consumer co-ops. That was the Belfast Food Co-op, for example, which was created this summer, actually during the pandemic, offering low waste, ethically sourced, eco-friendly and organic products. But I think more importantly, also an affordable alternative. Moving on. So I've mentioned the role that cooperatives can play in rebuilding our economy. I think it's important to say that at the moment, their social and environmental value is hindered by a lack of awareness and a lack of support. So very simply, cooperatives face many obstacles, and I think we need to address that to support the development of the cooperative economy. If we look at countries where there is a thriving social economy, which is usually a cooperative economy rather than an economy focused on social enterprises, we see that there is a network effect. That network effect is bespoke financial instrument, it's tailored advice, and it's also benevolent legislations. So the first thing we need a level playing field for cooperatives. Cooperatives at the moment face a lot of barriers. In particular, their registration costs are higher, significantly higher than any other forms of organizations. because there is a lack of awareness, even something as simple as opening a bank account can be extremely difficult for cooperatives. Second, we need to raise the profile of cooperatives as a real business option. I have said that they're economically really performant, but there is a lack of understanding from local business development. Now, at the moment, the focus is predominantly on multinational corporations and large enterprises in terms of the economic policy. So if you see Invest and Eyes and the Department for the Economy strategy, it's basically focusing on export-oriented growth and scaling up businesses. In Northern Ireland, the economy is 89% of businesses have less than 9 employees. So that's simply not realistic, but that's also not going to build resilience. So we need to address that. On top of this, for the local councils that have a program that supports the social economy, that program tends to support social enterprises over cooperatives, either because they are not familiar with the cooperative form or because generally there is a lack of awareness of the cooperative form in the wider public. So we do need education. We also need a cooperative development agency for Northern Ireland. The New Economic Foundation in 2018 published a report to say that we could double the size of the cooperative economy. But to do that, we need a cooperative development organization for Northern Ireland. We need regional cooperative development organizations. Finally, we need financial assistance and public investment. In some respects, similar to the small and medium enterprise sector, but we need to consider that cooperatives face certain barriers to attracting traditional investment. But they also offer quite a lot of opportunities for community investment, and both the cooperatives that are going to speak after me have done either a community share offer or a loan stock offer, which I think is quite important. Now, it's quite a pity that there hasn't been more investment from local councils into those community shares, in particular because they're sound financial investments, but also they deliver on social and environmental value. The last point I was going to make, and that's how I will conclude, is rather than just addressing the barriers to cooperative development, which is what I've mentioned before, we could also consider radically changing, radically transforming the local economic development thinking. And that can be done by deploying a community wealth building approach. So community wealth building is being talked about quite a lot at the moment. We also call it the Preston model, but it actually originates in Cleveland in the US. And that approach is about looking at 5 pillars and transforming completely local economic development, looking at anchor institutions. So anchor institutions are those big organizations, yeah, like for example, colleges, hospitals, universities, or certain businesses, local authorities that are rooted locally. They're not going to relocate to China to cut labor costs. That's not going to happen. They're going to stay in Belfast, or they're going to stay in other towns and cities. But they have significant wealth and power, and especially they rely on quite a lot of local suppliers. So how can we harness that wealth and that power? One way of looking at it is social value procurement, environmental procurement, fostering decent work with living wage employment, democratic employment, secure employment. But also one way of looking at it is developing a democratic economy and fostering in particular the creation of cooperatives, of social enterprises, and of community businesses. There are other elements to it, like land ownership with community land trust, or finance with a regional mutual bank, which is something that is being tried at the moment in the northwest of England, and there is a project in Northern Ireland as well. But the outcome for council can be really impressive. In the case of Preston, so the City Council of Preston in the northwest of England, there's been a reduction of the money that left the local area through procurement, that left the Lancashire area, from 61% to 21%. There's clearly a lot of potential for developing cooperatives, for developing a cooperative economy. I will simply conclude on saying that a cooperative economy can really provide a vision for living, for working, and for consuming in a much more democratic.
Yeah, I'm Richard, and I'm from Love Works Co-operative. So we're a workers' cooperative based in North Belfast, and we have been running for about 5 years now. So our vision at Love Works is to generate dignity and well-being for people. And we do this through sustaining ourselves through 3 operations. We run a bike repair service in the community. So we repair bikes that people leave in, and we also refurbish unwanted bikes as well. So we're trying to minimize the bikes that are thrown out by giving them a new life. We also run a gardening and landscaping service, and we run a bakery as well. So those are our 3 operations. That's how we support ourselves. We currently have 11 members, and kind of a range of part-time and full-time workers. So you can see the pictures later on, hopefully. But I wanted maybe to tell my story of LoveWorks. If you ask the team, you would get a different story because everybody in the team identifies with LoveWorks in a different way and resonates with it, different aspects of it. But for me, there are 3 kind of conceptual frameworks that led to the emergence of LoveWorks in existence. And the first one is the faith-based framework. And this can be split into 2 main themes. The first being blessing, the belief that God has so richly blessed us that to then have a desire to share that blessing with others. So that was one kind of motivational drive, and the other is the concept of reconciliation, and the belief that God has reconciled or healed the relationship between humanity and God, and that really we just need to realize that as humans. So from that platform, there is great hope in the way we go about relationships, that there's potential for healing, there's a potential for restoration, there's a potential for wholeness, and that is very much a foundation framework in my approach to LoveWorks, and sustains me on the journey. The second conceptual framework is restorative justice. Some of you will have heard of that before, but it's a framework of justice that centers on relationship, and I have kind of reduced the framework into a series of principles or values, relationship being at the heart. So a restorative practice would be something that has relationship at the heart and prioritizes that and does not want to jeopardize that or create more harm. So it seeks to be committed to the relationship in the process. As well as relationship, there is the potential for reparation, that where people are hurting, that they're engaging in something where that the potential for that hurt to be healed and restored. So there's this element of a therapeutic practice or therapeutic process. Reintegration is another aspect of this framework, where those that felt ostracized or marginalized through their engagement become more integrated and a more normal human being, if you like, and less on the margins. And another aspect of this restorative framework is that it addresses root causes. So I find that in our journey that I was engaging with young men, particularly that were on the margins of society, that had needs that was preventing them from moving forward in their lives. And many of those barriers, for example, if they had a criminal record, they were engaging in a system that was seemed to condemn their future, and I was wanting to create a pathway that did not continue to condemn them, but was about removing barriers. So these were, I suppose what I'm trying to communicate is these are the strands that informed the emergence of LoveWorks. And the third conceptual framework is, of course, the cooperative framework. And that's when I met Tiziana, and she introduced me to the 7 principles. And for me, I saw an overlap between and a resonance between the restorative framework, my own faith-based framework, and the cooperative framework. And we saw the workers' cooperative model in particular as a framework that empowered and valued each member of the team. The workers, in essence, have the potential, have the opportunity to become members and share responsibility for the business and to make decisions that govern the business. So in essence, you have, in most cases, all of our members are directors of the business. The 3 operations kind of emerged from kind of was working with really the metaphor of restoration. And some people ask, well, where did those 3 operations come from? And on one level, it was what was available in terms of the resources that were available to us at the time. The garden work started through community garden spaces, helping the young men to connect with themselves, learning how things grow, connecting with other people in the community involved in the garden, and just observing the kind of the outcome of their work, observing that their input is making a difference. It's making a difference in the garden. The garden is responding to it. And in a similar way, teaching bike repair skills, their input, their effort of work is restoring a bicycle. It's enabling it to be well again, if you like. And this is the metaphor that we worked with, which obviously would be true in their lives, in our lives together. So we decided to constitute ourselves as a workers' cooperative at the end of 2015. At the time, it was through the Department of Economy, and as Ellie was saying, it was kind of quite a hefty registration. But you know, I think that in spite of the challenges that we've had in terms of third parties being familiar with our business structure and being more accommodating, I think that we don't regret in any way being a cooperative. We're very proud of the fact that we're a cooperative, and I think that, you know, the way we have grown is testimony to that. So I said before that some of the early projects that we were running, engaging with young men, and really these were small grant supported projects. I was functioning as the project manager, and as I'm sure you're familiar with community grant funding, the funding cycle is usually 6 months to a year, and most of them were expecting new cohorts of participants each time. So that created a dilemma for me in the development, because I was interested in creating a structure that was sustaining livelihoods and maintaining relational commitment rather than just signposting people to something else, which there had been a lot of in their experience. So that was really the juncture where we were looking to set up something much more permanent, and the workers' cooperative model seemed to create that opportunity for us. We were looking for a much more sustainable model that was enabling us to generate income, that was going to cover at the very least the project expenses, and then hopefully would start to enable the participants to come off benefits and draw a wage. And that is where we're at 5 years on. All of our members are drawing a wage, and it is at the very least the minimum wage, minimum living wage. So it's taken a journey to get there. I had put together a little table which shows the figures from 2016 to 2020, and you can look at this more closely later on, but I'll just pick out some figures. So we're just to give you an idea of the growth financially. In the first year, our turnover was just over £20,000, and the average wage rate, the hourly wage rate, was £1.44. So I was the only self-employed member at that time. Everybody else was on benefits, and our grant support was about 20% of the annual income. So about a fifth was grant support, the rest was sales revenue. So the following year we grew a wee bit more, and the wage rate went up to about £4.64. There was 9 members, and at this time what we discovered was that about half of the team, even though we weren't able to in any way get anywhere close to the minimum wage, about half the team decided to come off benefits anyway, because they were so tired of the system, and because the experience of working was a lot more dignifying for them, and they would be earning more. The difference of job seekers allowance and what they were earning, what they would be earning with us would be more. So it was more profitable for them to come off benefits. So that was kind of a game changer, and that we started really to see one of those outcomes that we had been hoping for. And then at the start of 2018, Loveworks merged with a local sole trader, a baker called Justin, and he has taken on the bakery here and developed it extremely well, and we saw really a threefold growth that year. Our turnover tripled and actually quadrupled, and our wage rate increased accordingly. So really since 2018, we've experienced quite rapid growth, and I think this has been certainly a combination of the merger with Justin, the baker, as well as the cross-pollination, if you like, of the networking within the local community. So Justin brought his pool of customers. They were buying bread, finding out about the other operations in Loveworks, and then the garden operation and the bike operation have benefited accordingly from that. And then I think you kind of reach a tipping point where things just start to, like ripples in the pond, they just start to spread, and It wasn't just North Belfast, but other areas of Belfast as well. So we've been really grateful to experience the community support for our services, particularly during the lockdown period. We were able to stay open and provide a service to the community. Tatiana, is there anything else you want me to touch on?
Maybe about, if you don't mind, the loan stock. Which way you raise the funds and why did you choose that?
Yeah. So because we're a workers' cooperative, we are not able to issue community shares like a community cooperative would be, where you're asking the community to buy shares. That might be a model that more people are used to, but loan stock is really where we borrow money from the community rather than going to a bank. And it was the first time we'd done that, and we approached Tatiana quite short notice and frightened her, I think, with the deadline that we gave her. But our vision was, we had been offered a cafe space at the Duncairn, an art centre close to us, and we wanted to take that on, but we needed some help to buy equipment for the new facility. And basically we put a pack together that explained what we wanted to do, and invited the local community to lend us money, and it was minimum amount and a maximum amount, and we were able to choose the interest rate on that, choosing an interest rate that was affordable for us, and that we would commit to pay that loan back between 3 to 5 years. So we asked for £10,000, and we reached that target, and we are now kind of have in our expenses have just a standing expense where we are building up, accruing a reserve, so when the 3-year period comes and people want their money back, we'll be in a position to do that.
Is that okay? Yeah. Happy days. Right, as Tatiana says, my name's Neil. I'm from Ballymackay Sports Academy. We're based in Lisburn, and we are a community benefit society. So where we evolved from a local football team, Ballymackay Rangers, who've been an important part of this community in the area of Ballymackay for the last 30 years. The community has a 5-acre, or the football club, sorry, has a 5-acre site that, football club has a 5-acre site, which used to be just a bit of amenity ground on a bonfire site, but in the sort of late 80s, early 90s, a lot of the guys involved in the club had the foresight, to get rid of the bonfire site and to create an area, where the young kids could play football. So the club currently plays at the Mid-Ulster Intermediate A level, and we've been there for 15 years now. It was always just a senior team, but in 2016 we established a youth setup, and the first morning that we had the kids involved in that, with 7 kids, and now we're sitting with 200, and there's still, every Wednesday there's still new ones coming in. So basically the club was sort of stuck in a rut at the time, and we weren't really attracting any sort of funding or assistance, from the local council, and about improving the facilities. So we sort of thought, well, we need to look wider than being just a football club, and develop sport as a whole in the area, and that would in turn then develop the community stronger. So that's where Ballymackay Sports Academy, it was born basically from the football club. And what we had was, there was a lot of people in the background who, local businessmen and, supporters who didn't really want to get involved in the day-to-day running of a football club, but they had the passion and the interest in their community to create something bigger than that, which is what we've done. So, let's see. So basically, I know Tiziana, I think, is the only one that's been down at the facility, but you'll see there the prefab hut. Now, we've had 5 of those prefab huts, and the one that's on the screen there was probably the one that was in the best condition when it came to us. But again, with the hard work of the community and the members, we've transformed that into, you see the home changing room there, and then the social club. So that sort of shows the hard work that goes in and around the club. Like everything that we have at the club has a wee story behind it. The dugouts were smoking shelters that we were able to get from a local factory whenever it closed down. And everything that we've had has been secondhand. In the mid-90s, the council left a changing room block down to us, but that was coming up to 25 years ago, and they haven't been back since. And it's in a terrible state at the minute. So in 2016, then we started looking at alternative models, and that is when we sort of got a meeting with a fella called Dave Boyle. Now, Dave was the brains behind what's probably known in the UK as the most successful community ownership model of a football club, which is FC United of Manchester. They've went from basically non-league right up into, I think they're in the 5th division now, or 5th tier of English football. So Dave then put us in touch with Tiziana, who we met with, and we got onto the Community Share Ready project. It was through Co-operative Alternatives and the Building Change Trust. So we're lucky enough to get onto that and get the support of Tiziana and a few others, Dave and Stephen McGarry at WorkWest. So the first 6 to 8 months was basically just looking and focusing on the legal entity. It was fairly hard work, but Tiziana kept us right regarding the sort of the legals and the what you're looking from a community benefit society. Then our aims and our rule books, what we wanted to do was basically secure this facility for life, so that in 20 years' time, when people move on, that there would still be, there would still be a facility there that nobody could come in and rip up the rule book and change it for their own self-interest. It was always going to be held by the community. So it was fairly hard going at the start. So the aims essentially of the Sports Academy is to provide or assist the provision of facilities and services for recreational, sporting and other leisure use in the area. As well as that, we're making it completely inclusive to all, and regardless of disability, poverty, social or economic circumstances. Everything we do down the facility is, it's cost effective. We try to keep the cost to an absolute minimum. For example, some other facilities in the area would be charging £30 a month where we charge £12 a month, you know, for membership for the kids and stuff. We try to keep everything as cost effective for parents as we can. And the third aim is to maintain the facilities for the home of Balmakesh Rangers Football Club. It was Balmakesh Rangers' home, and we just wanted to keep it that way, just that no other club could come in and, you know, just take over the sports academy, and then, you know, obviously move their own clubs into the home of Balmakesh Rangers. So 2017 we finally got into a position where we were able to launch the share issue. If you don't mind, if you want to show you this wee video, just it was sort of like a wee launch video. It's only a couple of minutes long here.
A lot of us have been playing for a team called Blue Star. Every summer we were playing friendlies, so we just decided we'd put a team together and put it into the Lisburn League. At the same time, we were asked to join the Mid-Ulster, and we took that step. We won the 5th division and we won the cup, and we moved up to the divisions, up to the 1st division. They asked us would we be interested in joining the intermediate. We've done well. We've got 1994, I think it was, we actually won the league.
So I've been involved with Balmakesh Rangers Football Club since the 90s. I was one of the very average players amongst a group of very good players. Loved it, played for about 10 years, and I was also a former treasurer of the club.
As a supporter, I've been coming down following the club 20 years, maybe since 15, 16. I've been actively involved in the club from 2007. More recently, I've become the club secretary, and I've been club secretary now for 2 years. Everything here has been built by ourselves, and it's been a long time coming, but I think we've shown what we can do in the past, and getting the proper facilities will be able to take us up to the next level. As well as that, making the club more inclusive, opening it up to children. We've recently set up our youth academy 18 months ago, and it's just went bananas, so it has. We've started off with first training session with 5 kids on a Sunday morning. Last night we had 42 kids at the same age group, so it's snowballed. It's going really, really well at the minute. Next year we're hoping to add in another 3 age groups into that, so next year we'll be looking at well over 150 kids training here.
So the Sports Academy is a big vision coming out of all the work that's been going on for years here. We wanted to be a chance to give back to the community, take a really good football ground and football club, but turn it into something really big, something that the whole community can get involved in and have ownership of, because that's what we want to do. We want to be the first sports academy in Northern Ireland, fully 100% owned by the community.
I'm one of the directors on the Balmakesh Sports Academy. I believe that what we have at the moment is a superb foundation, and that the academy really is just going to grow what is already there. The interest has been there from the get-go. It has really just been about putting into place the opportunities for the community to get involved.
The share launch is due for the 13th of June. There will be a range of share packages available for that, and we're hoping that everybody, whether it's £50 or a £500 package that you get different things for, that everybody in the community in the local area just gets a chance to get involved and take some ownership of it for the future.
We just want as many people as we can to buy shares, so that everybody's got a say in the new facility and everybody owns their little part of the academy.
This is near enough the exact same model as the FC United of Manchester, who are now working their way up through the leagues. They are all fan funded. It's very much an ownership of the people, and that's what we want for our area.
The new Sports Academy, the building that we've planned, hopefully we want to make it a testament to the guys that have put all the hard work and effort during the last 30 years putting the club to what we've got at the minute. And I can think of nothing better, to reward those guys. A fantastic new facility here. there's been many people before me and there's been many people after me, you know, and that's just the way this club is.
So whenever we launched the shares then in June and July, we opened it up for 6 weeks. It got that many people interested. We actually kept it open for a further 2 weeks. So it was open for 8 weeks. And at the end of it all, we had 297 individuals from the community become shareholders. They range from kids aged 8, 9 who put in £50 to, you know, people who've sort of took lifetime membership who put in £500. With 32 businesses and local schools all invested in it as well, and a total of £112,540 was raised through the offer. Some of the kids are, you've seen that we have a lot of kids. A lot of the kids were buying the shares themselves. And in fact, one of them, as soon as he gave us the £50, came up with, he says, does that mean I get to have an idea now? And he says, of course it does. He says, well, can we get a play part? And he says, well, why do you want to play a part? He says, because all you do is shout at us during a match on a Saturday. So he says, if we get a play part, then we'll not know you. So that's one thing that we're currently looking at with the council, is putting the play park on the site. By getting that leverage or by raising the £112,000, that then give us leverage. Before we raised that, we hadn't a penny. Once we had that money, then we were able to go to the Co-op Foundation, the Army Covenant Fund, the Alpha Programme, and Department for Communities, and say, look at the buy-in we've had from our community, both financially and just, you know, the support and, you know, that they've given us in backing, and, you know, that then in turn give us leverage then, you know, to start bringing in grants from other bodies. The Department from Communities have really got behind us in this. They see the model and they really want to hold this up as you know, a model for other clubs within Northern Ireland to, you know, to use, whether it be Gaelic, rugby or football. They're really keen to hold this up as a role model. You'll notice in that list that there's something missing, and it's council support. That's one thing we struggle with, is the council just don't get this concept at all. And I don't know why that is, but they just they can't get their heads around it, I don't think. But I say the Department for Communities is the main one that matters. So, you know, the council is going to get left behind in this. We're £100,000 short. So the Ulster Community Investment Trust, they came in behind us with a charity loan, so they did, and they were able to get us over the line then with what we needed. So basically, on the video there, you've seen what the facilities was like before. It was a grass pitch, Saturday mornings, waterlogged, kids football called off. You know, we work with the IFA, where there's 150 kids there every Saturday morning from right across Lisburn, Castlereagh, West Belfast. They're all up playing football. Any bit of rain at all on that pitch, and you know, you're having to send the kids home on a Saturday, which, you know, it's terrible to do. So our completed project is basically landed with a full-size, state-of-the-art 3G pitch. There's some photos there, like you can see, you know, being able to have night matches during during the day, from 5 o'clock to 10 o'clock every weekday, we're booked out. So we are. I think there's one slot from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock on a Monday. And apart from that, the rest of the week's booked solid. Monday nights, we've got Rangers Football Academy. They hold a soccer academy on a Monday night. Portadown first team, who's in the Irish League Premier Division, they're training with us now too. We've also been selected, for a training venue for the EF Under-19 Euro finals. That was supposed to be in October and November here, but obviously with COVID, they've had to push it back. It's going to be around March, April time now. But the likes of that, you're going to have Spain, Germany, Norway, England, Portugal, under-19s all over. And they'll all get a chance to use our pitch during the day, which is going to be absolutely fantastic, not only for us, but a lot of the sessions, all the sessions will be behind closed doors, but we've agreed that they will open it up a couple of sessions where we can bring local schools, in, and they'll all get a chance to come down and maybe see, a couple of Liverpool players maybe playing for England under-19s or whatever. So again, it's opening it right up to the community to get everybody down to feel part of it. Employment-wise, we've just taken on a part-time caretaker, and we're currently advertising for a full-time academy manager at the minute. The academy manager role, it's I think it's starting off, it's around a £30,000 a year job. The part-time caretaker, he's starting off with just 16 hours a week. But again, we're looking at next summer, whenever, there's a bit more needs done in the way of grass cutting and things like that. Now, not cutting the artificial grass, but the other surrounding of it, we can hopefully get him up to more of a full-time role as well. The pitch opened up in July, and July and August we're sort of just finding our feet. There's a few other wee sort of snags that were needed to be carried out around the facility. So September was the first real month where we started getting the bookings in and getting it used to its capacity. The turnover in September was £6,000, and already October the bookings have increased again. So we're looking at the minute of bringing in £7,500 turnover. So hopefully that keeps going. I say during the day we haven't really had any bookings, but hopefully when the full-time academy manager gets in, well then he can start working to get local schools using it during the day, businesses, etc., and running just other wee programs. We've a program starting this Friday for the midnight football. That's in conjunction with the PSNI, trying to get kids off the street in the area. Sundays we've got a new program starting with the Army in Thiepval Barracks, where we're trying to get the soldiers over there are all on tour in Afghanistan, so we're trying to get it's basically the women and the kids are left behind in the barracks. We're trying to get them out and getting the kids over and just letting them run about and enjoy football, in a different venue. So again, it's all